Alright, I'm Jeri Jessop. I'm from Colorado. I go to Colorado School of Mines here in Golden, and the project that I worked on this summer was immobilization of heteropolyacids in PEM fuel cells via CoPolymerization. So this summer I've been working a lot with fuel cells, obviously, and Nafion is one of the most common fuel cells in the industry right now. It's a perfluorinated sulfonic acid, and the problem with this one is that the fluorine leaches out over a period of time, which is really bad for the environment. So there's much motivation to do research to find a membrane that does not have Nafion, or it does not have fluorine in it. So I've been currently working on a system that includes heretopolyacids. This is a heteropolyacid. It's a large silicon, tungsten, oxygen vinyl group. And what's beneficial about this one is that it's inorganic, it's a superacid, and it conducts protons, which is really useful because that's how you get energy in a fuel cell. So I've been working on two separate systems this summer. I've been working on a heteropolyacid with ethylene and a heteropolyacid with butyl acrylate. This is the equation for the heteropolyacid with butyl acrylate. There's two carbon-carbon bonds in the heteropolyacid, and there's a carbon bond in the carbon-carbon double bond in the butyl acrylate. And so via copolymerization, the bonds are broken and long chains of carbons are filled between the two heteropolyacids. There's two mechanisms for which to do free radical polymerization. There's UV polymerization, which is where you have a photoinitiator and you shine bright UV lights on it and it initiates this reaction. Also, you can initiate free radical polarization using high heat and high pressure. So this was how I did the ethylene polymerization. I had ethylene gas with a liquid heteropolyacid, and I put them into this bomb reactor that keeps it at a high pressure and a high temperature in a closed system. So over a period of time, the heteropolyacid and the double bonds in the heteropolyacid and the ethylene break and form a long polymer. After taking this ethylene mixture out of the bomb, you get a really sticky, goopy membrane. Mixture, not a membrane. You have to make, from that mixture, you make a membrane. And there's different ways that I've worked on trying to make a membrane. It's the biggest challenge I've had all summer. I've tried heat pressing it using a t-shirt press. I've tried dissolving it in a solvent and evaporating said solvent. But what I found eventually worked was mixing it with polyethylene. Polyethylene is a really flexible polymer. So when added to the co-ethylene that was from the bomb reactor, you get a mixture that can be formed into a membrane that's really flexible and mechanically stable, which is a good first step. There's a lot of problems with this system so far. It's not homogeneous, so it's very phase separated and it doesn't give good proton conduction. And also, it's very thick, which isn't really a feasible option, feasible for a fuel cell membrane. So there's much work to be done on that. But here's an IR spectra that I did of this comonomer, and it shows that there's a carbon-hydrogen and a carbon-carbon bond and the heteropolyacid. But the benefit of this is that it shows that there aren't carbon-carbon double bonds. Say what? Okay, and so the butyl acrylate membrane is the results I've gotten from these are shown right here and here. This is an AFM image that I've taken using advanced force microscopy, and in this it shows the channeling that's created through the butyl acrylate, which is really important because that's where proton conduction occurs. This is a SACS image that we got from the advanced photon source at Argonne National Lab, and it shows we took a polypom 25, meaning it has 25% heteropolyacid and then 75% butyl acrylate in it. And it shows how the morphology of this membrane will change depending on the relative humidity. So overall, butyl acrylate is a pretty good system that has good proton conduction. There's a lot of proton channeling in the membrane, allowing proton conduction, and it can work at a lower humidity and a higher temperature, which is ideal for a fuel cell. The ethylene is a newer project, but it is going to be it's very important to work into this one because it's going to be a very inexpensive membrane, which is good because the rest of the fuel cell is rather expensive. So it's important to look for a membrane that's more economical. So that is what I did this summer.